one of these camera apps is the best. I know not everyone's going to have the same conclusion of which one they believe is the best, but by the end of this video, you can have a good idea of which one you think is going to be the best one. I'll be comparing the OnePlus 12, the S24 Ultra, the Pixel 8 Pro, the Nubia Z60 Ultra, and the Razer Plus of 2023. And that will be focusing on the layout, the ease of access to the settings, the number of manual settings, the best shared modes, the best unique modes, and the quickest capture speeds. Before we get started, remember that liking the video and subscribing will really help this channel out. So the first thing I want to look at is the layout of the modes, and my favorite one is actually on the Pixel 8 Pro. It separates it between the photo modes and the video modes and makes it really easy to search for what you're looking for. The only downside to the layout is that you can't change it around. You're pretty much stuck with how it's set up, and that's it. You can't do anything else with it. On the other hand, you're able to change the order of the modes on the other phones, so there is some give and take there. Getting to the reachability, it's another mixed bag really. So with the Pixel, you're able to get to the settings because everything is closer to the bottom. You're able to get it without having to adjust your hand too much. But the downside is that the lenses or the zoom range is the highest one of any other one in terms of how high it is up the screen. And so that's going to make it a lot harder to reach with your thumb, especially if you're holding it one-handed. All the other phones that I own had the settings up top, so you do need that second hand to reach them. However, a positive for the other phones is that you can reach the zoom ranges with one hand easier than with the Pixel 8 Pro. The best one of the bunch for being able to reach the different zoom ranges is going to be the Motorola Razer Plus of 2023. The different zoom levels are actually placed the lowest of any of the other phones and makes it super easy to reach them. And from my experience, being able to reach everything with one hand in the camera app is actually pretty important because there are times when you might need the second hand for either stabilizing yourself or using it for something else. As for the S24 Ultra, the Nubia Z60 Ultra, and the OnePlus 12, the layouts are actually fairly similar and the reachability is also very similar. So those are pretty much the same in terms of comfort of use. My next category is ease of access to the settings. And once again, the Pixel 8 Pro has the best layout for that. With the Pixel 8 Pro, the Pro settings are actually in the regular photo mode, so you don't need to switch to a specific Pro mode to access them. This is great because you don't have to switch modes when you already have a shot lined up just to switch or set one setting manually. And that's going to be very helpful in certain situations where you don't have all the time in the world to reach them. And as far as the other phones, they're all exactly the same in which you have to go to the Pro mode to access those specific settings. I would have to give the S24 Ultra the next position in this category because you have additional settings on the regular photo mode that you just don't get on other ones. For example, the Nubia Z60 Ultra and the OnePlus 12 both require you to go to a specific high-res mode to use 50 megapixels. The S24 Ultra and the Pixel 8 Pro both let you do it on the regular photo mode. My next category is the overall number of settings available in the Pro modes. On this one, the S24 Ultra has the most overall settings, but it's not that huge of a difference from one phone to the next. And in second place in this category is the Pixel 8 Pro. And that's actually pretty surprising. I didn't think the Pixel 8 Pro had that many settings, but as I went through them, it actually matched up the Samsung pretty closely. Samsung just had a couple of other ones like tint, contrast, and saturation, which the Pixel 8 Pro didn't have. The next category is for which phone has the best shared modes. And I'm not talking about the basic photo and video modes. I'm gonna focus on portrait video, and slow motion. And in this category, the S24 Ultra is the best by a pretty good margin because it's at the top of the list on each of these modes. Starting with portrait mode, the S24 Ultra lets you use all 4 sensors for this mode. And that gives you the biggest range possible because this phone has 4 different sensors. But as far as portrait mode goes, the Nubia Z60 Ultra and the OnePlus 12 also let you use all of their sensors for this mode. So they're actually the runner-ups for this one specifically. Unfortunately, the Pixel 8 Pro limits you to using the main sensor only, and that's a big letdown considering it has a pretty good 5x sensor. Moving to the slow motion mode, the S24 Ultra lets you record 4K at 120 frames per second, which is currently the best one that's out there right now. The Nubia Z60 Ultra also lets you do this, so really technically in this category, it's currently neck to neck with the S24 Ultra. As for the Razr Plus of 2023, the OnePlus 12 and the Pixel 8 Pro, they limit you to Full HD, which is just a step down compared to the other two phones. In the third mode, which is the portrait video, the S24 Ultra stands alone in being able to record portrait video with 4K. All the other phones are limited to recording portrait video or blur mode, depending on which phone you're using, at 1080p. The next category is for the best unique modes, and just by sheer number, the Z60 Ultra is at the top of the list. It's not to say that every single unique app that the Z60 Ultra has is great, but just by having so many and a couple of them being good, it's by default the best one. And the runner-up for this category is the Pixel 8 Pro. And it's not that it has a large amount of unique modes, it's just that it has the best ones in my opinion. So for the Pixel 8 Pro, the reason it became the runner-up is because it has two modes that are really good to use and they're unique to the Pixel 8. And that's the pan, which slows down the video a little bit to give you a smooth panning motion when you're recording, and the long exposure, which, like the name says, it creates a long exposure and it takes care of not overexposing for you, so you don't have to worry about that, and it always comes out pretty good. This last category is the capture speed. The one I chose as the fastest might be considered a little controversial considering that it's always been considered to have a bit of a lag, but let me explain why I chose the S24 Ultra as the quickest shutter speed. So when comparing 12 megapixel modes only, the S24 Ultra is not 100% the fastest, even though it's not far off anymore. The Pixel 8 Pro is actually the fastest one, followed by the OnePlus 12 and then the S24 Ultra. But they are also close that it doesn't really matter all too much. The difference came when going to the higher res modes. So when taking a 50 megapixel picture, the Pixel 8 Pro was the slowest one of those three, so therefore I couldn't name it the fastest shutter speed. A similar thing happened with the OnePlus 12. It wasn't as slow as the Pixel 8 Pro, but was still a bit slower than the S24 Ultra. And so when you average out the speed for 12 megapixel and 50 megapixel modes, the S24 Ultra is actually the fastest one. An important note here is that I do have the quick tap shutter on the S24 Ultra, so that does speed it up a little bit. And that's where it matches the speed of the Pixel 8 Pro and OnePlus 12. But that doesn't take away from the fact that the 50 megapixel mode on the S24 Ultra was way faster than the competition. So to tally up how many times each phone was on top, the S24 Ultra was on top the most for a total of 3 times. Then followed by the Pixel, which was on the top of the list twice. And finally, the Z60 Ultra was at the top of the list once. Now that doesn't mean that the S24 Ultra has hands down the best camera app. It all depends on what you're looking for. But my hope is that this video is going to bring you some information to help you make that decision a little easier. And your favorite might actually depend on which category is the most important one for you. For example, even though I ranked the S24 Ultra at the top of the list the most, it's actually not my favorite camera app. My favorite one is the Pixel 8 Pro. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and that you found it helpful. Remember to like and subscribe for future videos. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.